Hello everybody, welcome to another tier list video. Today we will be talking about Helldivers 2. This most likely will be the first of many tier list videos since there's so many, but I'll try to keep this one short because boosters are probably one of the biggest parts of your loadout. You are only allowed to bring 4, one for each person, so I feel like it is important to know what each booster does and which ones are more viable than others or more useful than others. So let's start off with the expert extraction pilot booster. What this booster does is that it reduces the amount of time it takes for the pelican to arrive and pick you up. So conceptually, this is a really good booster. From experience, a Helldive mission can go super smoothly, and you can get all of the sub-objectives, all the optional objectives, but once the extract starts, I'm just fucking swarmed by enemies, and I keep dying and dying with my squad, and it's just really hard to maintain that landing zone without basically just get obliterated by hulks and tanks, Bile Titans, Chargers alike. So I feel like conceptually this is a very good booster, but the amount of time that reduces is just sadly very little. I think the amount it does reduce is by 15%. If the timer is normally 2 minutes, it reduces by 15%, making it a 20-second reduction. So I feel like that is just very, I'm dedicating my entire booster slot for an expert pilot, but if you're only able to come faster by 20 seconds, I feel like it just doesn't provide enough for what it's supposed to, or it just feels very bad bringing this booster. And next up, we have the flexible reinforcement budget, where it's similar to the expert extraction pilot, where it reduces the timer it takes for you to be approved for a new reinforcement. So if you deplete all of your reinforcements, that you get that 2-minute timer. This reduces that 2-minute timer, and it actually reduces an even lesser amount than the expert pilot, where it only decreases by 10% for the timer, making your 2-minute timer originally down to 1 minute 48. And if you know how to do math, that is literally only 12-second reduction, which is just so it's just pitiful. Like, both of these, I feel, are just not strong enough where bringing it has an actual impact. It has minimal impact. It's just not a big enough impact to justify bringing these boosters. I would not recommend these boosters at all for any reason currently, because of just how little it benefits you and your squad. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, we have the Hellpod optimization. What this booster does essentially is that it fully stocks you in your equipment at the beginning of each life, so to speak. So when you first spawn in, you get max amount of stims, max amount of nades, and a max amount of ammo for your weapon. So I feel like this booster is just a must-have, even for if you're playing solo. Like the extra equipment, or not even extra, just the fully stocked equipment is just so valuable, because you don't have to call in a resupply for yourself at the beginning of a mission, or you're not running out of stims or grenades in pivotal moments during the mission. And well, I guess one thing to point out, that this does not fully stock your supply weapons or support weapons. That is a separate upgrade module for your destroyer, so don't get confused with that. But yeah, then again, this is basically a must-have, especially I feel for 4 players, because if you don't, then you're basically forced to call in resupply, like I said earlier, and then you just have to wait for that timer, especially if you run out. And if you drop hot drop somewhere, you call down resupply, and then you just die, and then you're just out of that resupply. You're resupply's on that cooldown timer, and you're basically just running at a suboptimal, just like you're running like suboptimal equipment, like so to speak. Next up, we have the increased reinforcement budget. So what this does is that for each Hell pod, or for each Helldiver in your squad, you get one additional reinforcement, meaning that if you have 4 players in your squad, then you get 24 as instead of 20 reinforcements at the beginning of the game. And it kind of downscales, so yeah, you know, if you're playing by yourself, you get 1 extra, 2 get 2 extra, and so on. I feel like it's also not a bad, I wouldn't say this is a F tier. It's not the best though, in my opinion, because my philosophy is that it basically plans for you to mess up, which is also another reason why I don't really like the flexible reinforcement budget, because it is a contingency, which is a good thing actually. You know, you plan for the worst but hope for the best kind of philosophy. But I feel like that I don't really want to bring a booster that doesn't actively help my self and my squad. So I feel like this is a C tier. I don't think it's definitely not a bad one, especially if you're playing with an inexperienced squad. You get some extra reinforcements, but I just don't. It's not an active booster that. It's not a booster that. Yeah, it's not a booster that actively helps you. Is, I guess, a best way to summarize it. Next up, we have the localization confusion booster. This booster is especially helpful if you're finding yourself being overwhelmed by patrols or just like bot drops or tunnel breaches. It reduces the amount of patrols that you will see around the map, but at the same time it will slightly increase the amount of enemies per patrol, just to balance that out. And also, I think the most important part of this booster is that it increases the amount of time in between your enemy's ability to call in reinforcements. So for what I mean by that is that every time like a bot sends out a flare or a bug calls in their tunnel breaches, there's a timer that starts where they cannot call in any more bot drops or tunnel breaches before that timer runs down, meaning you have a little bit more breathing room like in between these like reinforcements, making it slightly easier to clear out waves if you find yourself in a localized or like in a center, like in a objective area, such as the evacuation missions or the geological surveys, where you're basically forced to be in a certain area. And I feel like this is definitely an A tier, making it very useful for a lot of missions. However, do keep in mind that it doesn't always, this booster doesn't always apply. For example, the elimination missions or the defense missions, where there's gonna be always a steady wave of enemies, and if anything, it might actually make it worse because it does slightly increase the amount of enemies per patrol or per drop. Next up, we have the muscle enhancement. So what this booster does essentially is that it reduces slows from almost all sources, from what I remember. So for I think the most common example is that if you're on a sandy or a muddy or a snowy planet, you are slowed when you walk through certain parts of the map, or during blizzards, during sandstorms. The muscle enhancement reduces the slow that you experience during these times or these planets, and is honestly definitely a great quality of life upgrade as a booster. It's a very good booster to bring, especially on certain planets that have these modifiers. Additionally, for bugs, this is probably an S tier just for bugs, where the slow that you receive from bile spewers or just bile of any kind, or the hunters when they bite you. It reduces the slow that they can induce on you, which is actually life-saving, because a lot of times when you do get slowed in bugs, you are essentially screwed because of how fast they can swarm you. So definitely an A tier, and would be an S tier if you were playing bugs. Next up, we have the stamina enhancer. So increased stamina booster basically is just in the title. You get additional stamina and additional recovery of the stamina for your character. I feel like especially for the longer mission, the 40-minute missions, where you're just cross-trekking across the map almost half the game. Especially for me and my squad, we love to basically full clear every mission. We just run around across the map. It's just very good, convenient to be able to do this like slightly faster with this booster. And I wouldn't totally say that it is a must-have booster, especially since there's also missions that don't provide or they force you to be in a certain location, such as the defense or the elimination missions. So it's not a must-have, but it's definitely a very good quality of life booster. Next up, we have the UAV booster, the improved UAV, I think is what it's called. So from what I know, with this booster, the scout passive armor and the upgrade for the ship module, the nuclear radar ship module, you are able to actually see enemies on your minimap up to 100 meters from your position. This is definitely a very good booster if you are planning to be stealthy, or just to be like just to roleplay the stealth recon character for your team. If you want to shot call the enemy positions, you want to just avoid patrols, this is definitely a very good booster to pick up. However, it isn't ideal. Hello? Oh, sorry. I think my headset turned off for a second. But anyways, I was saying, I wouldn't say this is the best booster. It's more like it's like a utility booster, where you're able to pinpoint enemy positions without actually seeing it, especially if you're in a mountainous area or a low visibility map where there is sand, or in the middle of a planet modifier such as sandstorm or storm of any kind that reduces your vision. You're able to use your minimap to pinpoint these enemies and not bump into them accidentally. So definitely a B tier. I feel like not the best, but is still very good. And lastly, we have the enhanced vitality. I think most people know that the enhanced vitality increases the durability of your limbs. So for example, you are able to land from a higher position, or if you land on higher ground, you have a reduced chance of breaking your legs. If a bot shoots you in the arm, you're at less likelihood to lose that arm and such. But additionally, this enhanced vitality actually reduces the amount of damage you receive from attacks, which is actually very game changing. You're even just for both bots and bugs, if you're able to survive one additional hit, actually can separate you from being alive or dead. So I feel like the enhanced vitality is definitely a very good booster to bring. I wouldn't say it's a must-have, but is if you find yourself getting one shot, or just you peak and you just eat 30 rockets from a random rocket devastator spray, then I would definitely recommend bringing this booster, so that you don't die as much, or you just don't lose your limbs, which is very important not to lose your limbs while fighting on the front lines. And so I think that about wraps it up for this tier list video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, remember to subscribe. If you think I'm a huge idiot for this and disagree with my tier list, you can leave comments down below. Any questions or concerns, you can also leave them down below. And thanks again for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.